Konnichiwa, y'all, and welcome to the 10 at 10 live today. This probably will be our last live. We've recorded some for next week, so we're catching back up here. One of the fun things about doing these lives is it gives our team a little bit of chance to get some videos edited since a lot of people have been out. Guys, we appreciate you hopping in here. It's no different from our regular 10 at 10. We're going to talk about some really great plants we got going on here today. These trees will be coming live today at 10 a.m. This is the 10 at 10 for October 10th. Yesterday was Tim's birthday, so make sure to tell him happy birthday in the chat if you hadn't already. Happy birthday, older brother.
Hey now.
Nah, he's my little brother. I actually picked out Tim's name, so if you want to know how persuasive I was as a 5-year-old, I talked a pregnant lady into changing her child's name in the womb. I feel like that, like, one of my greatest achievements in persuasion is talking my own mother into changing my brother's name. I feel like that should be like an accomplishment as a 5-year-old.
And it's because he was reading the book Tim the Tin Can.
Right. Mom was like, okay. So Mom was like, it is a biblical name, so I'm going with it.
And so he used his persuasion as a 5-year-old because his birthday is a month after
like
me.
Matlock right after that. Like, that should have been my career choice after that. Should have went into law. Instead, I'm selling your trees, guys. We've got a great 10 at 10 today. I think you're going to love it. A reminder for everybody in the chat, we've got our open house that's still on. Everything's a go there. We're going to be doing open house October 26th from 8 to 4. There's going to be an incredible costume contest. My daughters have already said they want to be judges, so we'll have to have some votes. We'll have set up a time and a prize, but it's going to be a big prize. I think you're going to want to be there.
So, guys, we're going to start off today with Acer Pomum Cupid. We've got Cupid coming on the 10 at 10 today. This is a witch's broom found on a coral bark by Matt and I. We actually took the signwood off of it around right around Valentine's Day, and that's why we got the name Cupid, because that's when we were trying to figure out what to name it when we were grafting it. And, we found this down in Tryon, North Carolina, down on a Kagaku when we were going down to go get some pizza while we were grafting. And it's a denser, compact coral bark selection. Pretty neat. And it's got a cool name.
Yeah, Cupid, durable, heat tolerant, upright. This is going to work zone 6 through 9. More of like 5 to 6 foot and 10 year kind of shape, so not a giant tree. Much smaller than your traditional Benikawa or Sengukaku as a coral bark. Still those great bright red stemming on it. Again, they'll be a little bit more dull this time of the year. I always let people know when they're getting trees in fall. Oftentimes going into fall, it'll be the least red. Now, as this thing gets to the winter months, it is a spark of color, and it gives you that mini red coral bark that a lot of people are looking for. It looks great in a container, looks great in the ground. All around awesome plant. Now, the coral barks do work zone 6 through 9. They don't go all the way down to 5. I always try to let people know that. A little bit thinner cambion, so they're a little less cold tolerant than some of the other maples, but phenomenal tree to be growing. Great golden yellow fall color. So all around just an absolute winner. And it gives you something that small to mid-size range. This one, slightly smaller than many of the other coral barks, making it a small stature tree.
Now, thanks for all your birthday wishes out here today. I greatly appreciate that. One thing I do want to note is all these trees will be listing on MrMaple.com. We have been having some scammers trying to pop up.
And that's all across the industry. It's not just us. There's several of the other big sites. They look at who gets the traffic. And fortunate for us, Mr. Maple does get traffic. So any of the main sites are kind of getting spoof sites from Chinese scammers. So be careful. If it's not .MrMaple.com, the only sources from us that are legitimate, MrMaple.com and the Maple Mafia eBay. We don't sell on anything else, Marketplace, anything else like that. So if you're seeing other stuff right now, that's not us. So just be careful. Check it back to MrMaple.com. If it looks too good to be true, and they're selling $40 red pandas from China, it's not real, and they don't have the product. They've spoofed every single one of our products, so every single item is in stock currently and like $20.
And what they basically do is they say that they're shipping it to you from China, and then they get a deposit, and then the trees never come, and then they keep the deposit.
Likely some of the same scammers I threw shade at in our group if you saw recently, so beware of that. I don't want anybody getting scammed out there. Most people are pretty smart. They're going to see that and go, that doesn't look right.
But had to throw that out there as a service announcement. Guys, next up, we've got Acer Pomum Calico coming up today on MrMaple.com at 10 a.m. This is one of the more underrated Japanese maples. It's one that we need to be listing more often. It is phenomenal. It has some really nice light spring colors in the early spring, and it's going to be more of that yellow kind of green in the early spring, but then it just stays brighter all year long, and then in the fall, it's a calico of colors, and that's really where it gets its name, because it can be yellows, oranges, and reds all at the same time. When my brother-in-law came here, this is one of the trees that he got in the B&Bs to put in his front yard in Mills River, and
forgot that stock plant was over there. I'm going to have to go visit that thing.
I know.
That's good. It's good when you sell to your family. You can just go back and get cuttings.
I know, right? So, guys, an amazing selection, phenomenal fall color.
Great stature to this, not a giant plant. Going to work zones 5 through 9 here. Another one that pairs so well with a lot of those spring interest trees. You can put this one with the Sojo. A lot of you are big fans of those style. This one would also be a fun one for bonsai, that small leaf, that comparison to kind of that DeSojo category of bonsai type plants. A lot of people love those because you can create bonsai content from those. Calico would fit in really cool with that category.
And I had somebody asking what name was Mama Maple going to pick if she didn't pick Tim. She was actually probably going with my middle name, which is Scott.
Right.
Which is interesting because we're Scott.
She didn't know we were Scottish.
She didn't know we were Scottish. She actually thought we were more Irish, and turns out
she's like 85% Scottish.
so who knew?
Mom's like the most Scottish lady ever. Didn't know it.
We're dropping down here today, Acer palmatum Ghost Dragon. This is a seedling that Matt and I found from that Nakakomoto Weeping Legacy. Heavily cascading, heavily pendulous, and in the early spring, you get some really nice fingernails to this, like purple, red colors, like more purple on the side. They're really sharp in the early spring, as it looks almost like a little hand there on the leaf, but also every once in a while you get some reticulated style variegation in there as well.
It's ghostly, it's dragony, it's just in time for Halloween, guys. This one, like many of the other Ryusei styles, I'm trying to say Ryusei more. Talon says I should say Ryusei, not Ryusen, so I'm trying to go with that. Ryusei styles. This one's a fun one, guys. It gets about as big as you stake it. I stake this one up to about 5 to 6 feet, let it weep down from there. Guys, it's one of the most next level of the weepers. Like, this one is super interesting. It has a lot of like Higashiyama style variegation in it the more it develops, so the older growth on it can get pretty funky. A really cool tree overall. I think you're going to love this one, especially as it gets out there more. Super next level. Tim and I evaluated it for many years. We were just in love with it. One, from the border, but also from that mixed swirling you get on the older growth. It's so next level. I think you guys are going to love this one. Sometimes it can even have a little bit more of a pink-red border to it in the spring.
Yeah, they got some good sizes on these Ghost Dragons now. It's kind of hiding me and Matt. That's why I sort of tried to turn it to the side a little bit. They're heavily cascading, easily trainable. A fun tree to have out in the garden because you can get creative with its shape. You know how it's going to dramatically cascade, and you can stake it up. You can not stake it up and let it crawl across the ground. You can put this across trellises. You can grow this in a container. So many unique ways to grow this style of a Japanese maple. And then this one, you get that little bit extra, being that's got that nail and some of that fingernail type border, and also some reticulated variegation.
Grab you one today. It's a Ghost Dragon, right in time for Halloween. Ooh, Keisha. That's what everybody calls this one here. They're like, ooh, Keisha, I'm telling. All right, this one's a great plant, guys. We've got Acer Seaboldianum Ukeisha. Now, this is a Dick Vandermatt introduction. You've heard us talk a lot about Dick Vandermatt. Guy come up with some cool plants. Good friend of ours. Passed away last year and had a big impact on Tim and I as nurserymen. Guy who really contributed a lot of just really fun plants. Ukeisha, I'd say, very rare one to see in the United States from him. This is one that's, to my knowledge, has only been offered at Mr. Maple before. It's a Seaboldianum that's super next level.
Mom's coming in the live chat saying that I would have been called Christopher Scott Nichols.
That's revisionist history. I was
Hey, Acer Seaboldianum Ukeisha, an awesome Seaboldianum.
Be like Chris and Old Saint Nick at the same time. Like, oh, then you've been a redhead too. They just called you Santa Claus all the time.
So it's got these hairs on the bottom of the leaves. It's got larger leaves for a Seaboldianum. To me, this is a really unique selection of Seaboldianum. I don't even know if Dick Vandermatt actually had it listed as Seaboldianum. He may have had it listed as a Shirasanum or Japonicum. But if you look at the leaves and the hairs on the leaves, clearly it's a Seaboldianum. Bigger leaves, something you don't see in the nursery trade that frequently is the selection. We've got one of these across from Matt's house, planted in the ground. It's just beautiful. Gives some amazing fall colors of oranges and reds and sometimes some yellows in there too. The Subuldianums, there's not enough selections of these. We've been offering a lot of them here on Mr. Maple. I love being able to offer all these different cultivars of species besides just the palmatum. We've got tons of palmatums too, but being able to diversify and offer some of these really unique styles and species that are from Japan, it's really awesome.
So next level on the fall color, guys. This one, it hits. I mean, I've had neon yellow and red in this one. I've had kind of a blend of reds and yellows. Like, it can just be just amazing. I mean, it goes through so many different shades in the fall. That really is special. Being a Subuldianum, I actually love the foliage on this one. It's got a very distinctive leaf, and it's a good plant. It's durable, it's heat tolerant, it's cold tolerant. It's going to work zones 5 through 9. It's just a showstopper of a plant. All right, bro, what we got next?
Next up, we've got a selection by our good friend Billy Schwartz. We're talking about Acer Palmatum Japanese Sunrise.
Yeah, another great bark interest one. This one's going to work zone 6 through 9. This one's kind of fun in that it kind of gets more red to yellow on each side of the tree. So the side with more sunlight tends to be more reddish, going back to a more yellowish pale on the other side. So you kind of get this two-tone bark interest going on this one plant. I heard somebody say one time they had Japanese sunset. I'm like, what'd you just turn the tree around the other direction?
I know,
That's an illegitimate name.
They're like, oh, this one's Japanese sunset.
Which is now it's the sunset. Sunrise, sunset. Wrong name. Should be Japanese sunset. Introduction by Billy Schwartz, our good friend. We've had him on the podcast several times.
He actually doesn't get enough credit for this one. Literally, it wasn't until I saw him on the podcast, I was talking to him about it, and he mentioned this was his introduction. I was like, are you kidding me? No one really sees that. And when I went to check the World Maple checklist, there was a little star registered there and said Billy Schwartz, I'm pretty sure. So I'm like, holy macaroni. Holy macaroni. It was crazy.
Hokely dokely, neighbor.
It was crazy that this was one of his introductions because it's so commonly out there. People know that Shayna is his daughter. People know that it means Hebrew for beautiful. I mean, that's everywhere. But they didn't know that Japanese Sunrise was one of his introductions.
I didn't know it myself. When I heard it, I said, sweet, sassy molassie. Knocked me out, man. I couldn't believe it. Love it. Love it. Great plant. Sure is swell, too. It's such a swell plant. I think it's going to look mighty fine in your collection.
Makes a good upright tree, though. Again, zone 6 through 9. Going to be fairly heat tolerant and give you some of that unique bark interest. Give it some sunlight to really peak up those colors. If you put it in too much shade, you're not going to get as much bark interest on the bark for Japanese Sunrise.
Super heat tolerant. Get it out. Enjoy it. It's going to be similar to Wildfire in some ways, but alternating colors, so it's a little bit different. Wildfire tends to have the most of the bark at the bottom being the reddest. So it's kind of cool to put near that just because of the different color shades. Very heat tolerant. Great golden yellow fall color as well. Oh, you got the Ned Flanders reference. That I might have been insinuating Tim was Ned Flanders. All right, guys, we're bringing back the hottest of blondes. We've got Acer Sanum Hot Blonde.
Yeah, one of our selections from the Heat Seeker series. Most of y'all already know what Hot Blonde does. Super fast-growing, super heat-tolerant, amazing fall color. And with sunlight, this thing grows fairly fast. And it also has phenomenal fall colors of bright, bright reds.
When I saw this seedling in the seed batch, I said, gee Willikers, Batman. It blew my socks off. I couldn't believe it. It's an awesome one. You've heard us talk about Hot Blonde for years. There's highlights of Hot Blonde on Jim Putnam's channel. We've been talking about this tree for years. Probably should have patented it. Probably just left like a whole bunch. Sorry, kids. We could have had your college fund on this one. But everybody loves this plant. It's a great grower. It gets out there faster than most other trees. It has amazing shades of yellow, pink neon red fall color. It is one of my favorite fall color trees. It actually won our top fall color tree, and somebody was like, this is a paid infomercial. I'm like, we make free shows every single day for our entire lives. You're darn right it's an infomercial for our business. Love this plant, though, and even if it wasn't from us, it would have been on my list for my favorite fall color because the fall color is super choice, late into the season, and just electric.
Yeah, I mean, we sent it to Talon Buchholz, and then he was sending me photos back, not of the yellow color, but of the fall color, and saying, wow, this plant is amazing. And he really went heavy on it, and it was awesome because as soon as we bought the Buchholz farm, they had a lot of these in 1 gallons that then we could bring back to Mr. Maple. So I was really excited about that. This is one of our introductions. It's one of our best introductions to date. And
I believe Talon Buchholz was quoted as saying, "Wow, I like that tree."
Maybe not those exact words, but he really liked it. And
this one's interesting.
Talon, oh goodness, Matt. But this is extremely heat tolerant selection. When we did our tour of Texas, a lot of people were talking about how they were growing this in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in high heat settings, in almost full sun, and it was thriving and doing well, which is shocking because, one, it's a Japanese maple hybrid. Two, because it's yellow.
Outstanding plant, guys. Grab one. Leaps. It gets out there. You're going to love the growth rate. It's going to shade out some of your other plants. It's going to look phenomenal. We got the whole Heat Seeker series in production. New ones in the works. I think it's next level. I love Acer Livianum. It's one of my favorite categories in Palmatum. I think you're going to love it as well. Grab you a Hot Blonde.
Guys, next up, we got Acer Palmatum Kagaku Jaku. This is a selection that was named by Masayoshi Yano. It was found at a temple in Japan, and it has that Matsumuri style foliage. And Kujaku means peacock, so it's kind of got a peacock-like leaf to it. But
you say foliage weird.
Foliage? I've been trying to do my best,
I
guys.
would get murdered in the comments on foliage. I'll say foliage for you too. Don't shun me.
You want me to say leaf morphology?
Don't know it. I'll start with that one. Get the clicker out for the next pod and see how many times it says Japanese maple on his Friday explanation video.
Hey guys, but this is an amazing selection that Masayoshi Yano thought was neat at a temple in Japan. He got it, started grafting it, put it into the nursery trade, and it has some great fall colors as well. It's got some sort of pinkish purple kind of new growth to it in the early spring, some bronze kind of colorings when you grow it with some sunlight. Very unique selection, one that you don't see often in the nursery trade, and we may be one of the few people in the United States that offer this.
Yeah, you don't see this one much. It is from Japan, like Tim mentioned, at a specific temple in Japan. Really next level. Kagaku Jaku, not Japonicum, has that Kujaku in there. You think of Wamai Kujaku, but it has a lot of what I like about Japonicums. It's got a very divided leaf. It's got a very irregular shape to it. It gives you a lot of what you like about maples from Japan. It kind of has a windswept look to it naturally. Beautiful plant. Dark greens, great fall colors, durable, beautiful. You get that essence of Japan with this one for sure. It feels like something that would be at a temple. Like when you get this in the ground, you get a specimen of this. It certainly has that regal effect to it.
Next up, we've got Acer Palmatum Chitosiyama Shadari. This is a selection that was brought back by Brian Upchurch and some other people from Japan, and they thought this was going to be the next upright red lace leaf.
Which is super pendulous.
Which is weird to me because Brian speaks Japanese, and I was just like, hey, Brian, what does Shadari mean?
Weeping, yeah.
It means weeping. And this is a weeping selection. The thing that really impressed us, though, and impressed Brian, too, is that it holds its color extremely well, and it's more cherry red in the early spring. So it really gives you a more cherry red color on a red lace leaf. It's heavily cascading as well. So something along the lines in between an Orangeola and an Abashidari on its shape, but it holds its color extremely well.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with this. Great lace leaf. Not seen a lot in the trade. You can get some pinkish new growth on this too, so you get some high intensity new growth on this, especially in the summer. Very pretty tree. I can't say foliage, so I'll just say purdy leaf on it. It's got a purdy leaf. And just really nice for a cut leaf. It's a nice one.
Yeah, it's a rock star.
Looks fancy.
I think we need to be doing more of this. I actually trimmed scion off of some of these 1 gallons and then mailed it out to the Buchholz farm to make sure that they had this tree in production as well. It is one of the lace leaves for the future, I think, for us. So for me, rock star, lace leaf, more people need to be growing it.
Super great plant.
So, guys, we've got an open house coming up October 26th. You're going to want to be here. We got tons of cool plants. We got a lot of trees here at Mr. Maple. We've got the greenhouses. They're going to be slam-packed full of Japanese maples. And
more trucks arriving from Buchholz this week.
We're going to drop that?
Yeah, we're stacking this place.
We're stacking this place with cool plants. You're going to want to be here. We are also having a a costume contest. Matt mentioned it earlier. So I just had to throw that announcement out there. Other announcement is we do have possibly another live going from our Maple Mafia channel tomorrow.
If you can't get enough of our lives, check out the Maple Mafia channel. We've been doing it every Friday at 3.
And we'll be talking about the trees that we have on eBay this week. We do have a larger snow kitten, just throwing that out there. I know it went up in some prices, and some people were like, man, this is a lot of capitalism at work. And I'm like, look, guys, we just got hit with a hurricane here.
Right.
We've got $30,000, $40,000 in expenses that we didn't plan to have. I'm super glad that
I really appreciate everybody's support.
I really appreciate y'all's support. You know, so many people can't even shop with us. So many people couldn't for, a few weeks or a week and a half because they didn't have internet or power. And so
and more priorities. Like, maples are a luxury. A lot of people are fighting for their lives out there. So we appreciate your support, man. We appreciate it. And we don't make light of it either. Like, I posted in the Japanese Maples group about it, and I said, I know we're going to get dragged for this, but to be fair, we listed at $250, and people could spend whatever they want. It's not like I can control their bids.
But we appreciate y'all's support through Mr. Maple today on the 10 at 10 and through our eBay channel as well. I just can't thank y'all enough because we're able to keep doing what we're doing during this time because of this.
And so our employees, we've got a lot of people here, and they really appreciate your support as well. We're able to keep the doors open. Everybody's keeping their jobs. We're keeping things running.
Yep. And guys, next up, we've got Acer Palmatum Kapershi Dwarf. This is a Kiyohime style Japanese maple, but that's sort of underselling this plant because what this plant does is it's a tabletop. It has a shape unlike any of the other Hime styles, flat and wide. And I'm not talking Kiyohime that can have a rounded shape. Typically, this one has more of a flat top shape. It's very, very short. Typically, you see an older specimen in the garden under 2 foot. And, it can be 6 foot wide and almost a perfectly round circle. So it is very distinctive and easy to see when you see this out in the landscape because its shape is shorter and wider than any of those other styles.
Great plant, guys. I remember one of my first ones of these that really drew me in was at Sarah P. Duke, walking around, seeing that kind of pinkish red border on it, really set it apart from some of the Kiyohimes for me. Lovely plant, durable, heat tolerant, looks great in a container, great for bonsai. Really a fun plant. Now, one thing you'll note is if you grow this one up next to a wall, you'll get kind of a semicircle. So
a half moon.
Right. I have one of these planted next to a brick to a rock wall, and it makes it more into a half moon, which is interesting too. I think it's a great way to do it. But normally it's going to have more of that rounded appearance to it. Maybe 3 feet tall, 5 to 6 feet wide in time, but a true dwarf. A great plant to put out in front of a window so you're not blocking a window space. It's a great in front of a kitchen window so you can kind of enjoy your entire garden, add to the aesthetic, but making it more of a small carpeted plant rather than like something big that's going to block your view.
And that's what people often do is they put something in front of their window that will eventually outgrow that space and get too tall. Again, this is such a short plant as a older 15, 20-year-old specimen. It's not going to block your window unless, maybe for 200 years almost.
Yeah. Helen Yost talked about a lot in her podcast about how a lot of our garden is seen from our windows. So be planning and planting your garden accordingly. So that way you'll have plants that you kind of increase your aesthetic from your own viewpoint that you're going to have the most. So inside looking out. This one's going to be popular today, guys. This one might go quickly.
Is this our last one? I think this is our last one today. Acer Palmatum Squiddy. This is a squiddy little thing.
Not to be confused with Squirt we recently had. Squirt and Squiddy.
Both selections
That's
from Alabama.
Tricky. Yeah, that's
both selections from Alabama.
Might want to make sure there's different color labels for our team. Squirt and Squiddy.
I think they were close. I think they're both purple.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of getting a little nervous right now. Squiddy, though, introduction by Harold Johnston. According to legend, he called Talon, and Talon said, what does it look like? And he said, it's just a squiddy little thing. And that was his southern expression for, it's a tiny little plant. Kind of a sister seedling to Abigail Rose. Talon named it Squiddy, just kind of, on a whim after Harold said that to him. It was a seedling he had sent Talon. Beautiful Higashiyama-style variegation, more elongated foliage. We actually have the original one of these at Buckholtz Nursery. It's going to be going back into the gardens. Was going to be for sale. Sorry, guys. We're keeping it.
Yeah, it has a nice reticulated variegation. It shows this reticulated style in a high heat setting, which is impressive for the Higashiyama style. If you do want to get the best variegation on this style, in that Higashiyama family, don't over-fertilize. Let this tree leaf out slowly, and you're going to really get the most out of this style.
Now, this time of year, they're going to be pretty green, right before that fall color especially greenhouse grown. Like with any of the Higashiyama styles, getting them out in the ground, letting them leaf out slow is going to be your best color. This one does well even in high heat areas. It's been impressive. It's looked great in zone 8 and full, heavy sunlight, still getting great colors to it. I think you're going to love this one. If you're a maple collector and you like Abigail Rose, this one's going to have more elongated, sharper foliage to it than that, where the Abigail Rose is going to have more of a rounded look to it. The two look pretty cool together, and both being compact dwarf forms, kind of originating from Harold Johnston. Great comparisons to have together.
Now, guys, many of these trees are going to sell out fast, so check out quickly. Our website doesn't hold it for you to complete that checkout process. Many of y'all know this because I see all the sales of like the primary things they want jumping in right real quick at 10 a.m., and then they go back and they shop again for the other items that were their secondary and tertiary items. But, guys, check out quickly today, and these get listed at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for us right now, it's 9:26. You got about 34 minutes if you're watching this live. And again, this is for 10/10. So this is the 10 at 10 on 10/10.
Ooh.
Sean dropped that on me yesterday. I was like, tomorrow's going to be the 10 at 10 on 10/10. I'm like, good thing this isn't 2010 or the world would just explode.
What?
Like, it's just crazy. But y'all, thanks for jumping in today's live chat. And remember our open house.
Kind of scared now, bro. That was a little intimidating there.
We're going again tomorrow, live tomorrow, likely around 3 for talking about the 20 trees getting lost that are going off this Sunday on eBay. One of those is a 6-gallon snow kitten. And thank y'all so much today. I appreciate y'all shopping with us. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.